What's up, YouTube? This is Card Tricks Tutor here to show you guys a Drytron deck. Haven't showed you guys a deck profile in a very long time. You know, we got a pandemic happening and all that, but with Yu-Gi-Oh coming back a little bit more, got some decks to show. So Drytron, you run 3 Herald, obligatory. I only run 2 of the orange light. You don't want to break the 3rd one. Just not worth it, to be honest. You only ever want to just search it off of Ava. And again, we only run 1. You don't want to draw it. You don't want to do anything else with it. It's a brick. So less bricks in this deck means you get to play more. The obligatory card is Ben 10, I to 10. And I play the Herald of Perfection. So the fact that it's level 6 comes up. The fact that it is searchable by soon-to-be preparation in there. I don't play the pre-prep in this version. Just not... the card is strong, but it's also weak based on the amount of cards that you have to put in your deck to try to get this out as fast as possible. He's just overall just a better card in the long run versus Ultimatus. I'm not saying the Ultimatus is bad, but this just has more application and it's a lot more consistent. And because I had an extra slot, it was literally an extra slot, and I didn't know what else to put in. Otherwise, you could get away with running 3 rituals and that's it. But having the 4th one does come up in some situations. You're under hand traps, and yeah, it's good. For the Drytrons, I think they're quite standard. I just gotta run these, and then 3 Gamma. This guy actually is very good. Based on how you line your plays, this is probably one of the better ones in the deck. And then 2 of, I honestly don't even know what these, Delta. You don't run the one that returns banished. Just because it's another name doesn't mean you need to run it. And then, so that should be 11 actual names. And then the 3 spells. So now we're at 14. Now we're at 17. And 2 field spell. Crazy. And then the 1 foolish. So this is 20 names of Drytrons, which is a huge number, but the games that I was losing or the games that I just didn't see my Drytron names, or I saw one of them, or I saw multiples of one, and that caused me to lose the game, whereas this gives me, you know, like this is definitely a very good card because it gives you access to this and your ritual spell. So it allows you to play different styles based on just this card right here. And it's a good way to bait things out. It's kind of like the meltdown. Your opponent activates it, they cyclone it, now they don't cyclone your ritual spell, you know, just things of that nature. And then 3 prep, I couldn't cut it down to 2. I just couldn't, based on how I'm playing the 3 level 6s. I wanted to be able to have at least 4 copies of all of them. It's just too good of a card. It allows you, it's basically like what is that called? Diviner. It's essentially like Diviner. It allows you to play into your opponent's board way more and use this as recursion as well. And it's just extension. So it does a lot in this deck. You just gotta be very smart about how you use it. I do play 2 in this version. This version is a little bit different because we have more Drytron names, which means that we're trying to rely less on their names a lot too. Whereas we can just draw this because they might ash. We can have it with the field spell as well, and we can foolish it off of the Exceed. I have been playing 1 for a while, but I think 2 is actually just very, very clutch at times as well. I'd probably say the best card in this deck, by far, is Talons. It's quite unfair, actually. What this card does, it turns your opponent's unfair board into a mediocre board. And most decks, just when they make the board now, like Tri-Brigade, Pranks, and pretty much anything else, they cannot even respect this card because it's that much of a blowout, where if this is in my opening hand with at least, you know, a Drytron name with, you know, some sort of extension, I'm most likely breaking their board and setting up something for my turn as well, if not killing them. The call by, you gotta just run it now. I mean, it's just a staple one of. And then the upstart, 39 cards. Again, I'm trying to get there as fast as possible to everything in the deck. Everything goes together. So it's a 40 card deck, obviously. For the extra deck, you're on the one Entis and the one Herald. In other versions, when you're running less of the Drytron names and you're running more like Dragoon package, you can try to put up more because you're playing way heavier into hand traps, versus where this deck is really trying to just outpace your opponent in the long run. One Chaos. This is kind of the flex spot that I use to play when my opponent heralds me, or negates the diviner, and allows me just to play into this and pretty much just do whatever I want at that point. It's two of these, two Mu Betas. I'm pretty sure this card should be a 3 in my extra deck. Just because in the grind game, when this comes up with gammas, it's actually just quite unfair what this card does. One downer to go along with the Mu Beta. I don't play any other rank ones. And the one Beatrice. Beatrice is just obligatory when you're trying to do your first turn combo. It just allows you to get 2 more negates. So this version obviously doesn't do the whole send Ava. Again, we're playing for the most consistent version, so I'm okay with having only 3 negates with a huge follow-up. So if they were to clear my board, or even if they would drop with me, I would have a huge comeback or follow-up for the next turn. And the one Zeus. Comes up in multiple applications where you talents and take their opponent's exceeds and attack, and then make the Zeus on top of that, so you don't have to waste any of your resources. It also comes up where you can take their Zeus and use the machine portion of it to ritual summon as well. That comes up as well. Not many people know that. The one Link Creepo, it's a staple with the level 1s that are in this deck. The one IP card's been busted ever since Orchest, and it's honestly just a way to control your opponent, and if you're not going to set up that many negates or that much, it's enough to slow them down to the point where you're at advantage with a monster with 2200 attack and you've cleared on a card on their side of the field. So pretty obvious, and setting up this kind of board is just very, very difficult to stop. So typically your ending board is like this and Herald, and it's pretty hard to stop without the droplets. And even if they go into battle phase to try to bait this out, you're like, okay, cool, that you get the attack through. So just easy ways to win the games faster. This was a flex spot. This is a flex spot in my head, and this is a staple. It does come up, actually. I actually drew 2 a couple times. It's kind of funny. And one Appaloosa. Not really needed, but it is a good card to use when you make certain boards and you end on IP, and with the mirror match, it's pretty much an auto win. If they can't stop this, they pretty much lose. Or if they don't open up the Nova, they lose. So, quite a good card. And the Boral Sword. I don't actually make this. You should be winning without this card, but it's in the deck to out random things. For the side deck, 3 Nibiru. Not much to say about this. It punishes the poor players that are very hungry for summons. And the 2 Lancias could bump it up to 3, but 2 is just a fine number. It's searchable on your turn 1, so you actually don't even have to side the 2. You only need to side the 1. But you play it, if you ever go first, you don't even need these cards because your boards are already so strong. 3 Twin. Again, one of these cards that like you can run 3 and you can also get away with 2. It's probably better to just run 2. Gives you more slots for other cards, but in our case, we're doing that. 3 Droplet. Droplet's also a very good card. Doesn't need to be in the side deck, but I want to respect the mirror match, and I want to respect decks that I would auto lose to when I don't have my talents. 3 Imperm, just more hand traps against the Tri-Brigade because, you know, like I said, Appaloosa really hurts his deck. And there are times where, you know, you hold it in your hand actually, because based on what their hand is, you can just Imperm their Appaloosa and play that way. Because you can, at the very least, play through their trap. So, and the last card is Red Reboot. Again, the trap is a hard card, but it's not that bad. And you really shouldn't be slow playing with this deck. It's very fast paced. Games don't go very long. You can typically tell when you win or lose the game within the first 2 or 3 turns, or first turn or 2. So it's a good card for that reason, because you're typically just going to kill them the turn that you activate this anyways. That's it for the deck. If you guys want more decks, just, you know, put in the comments down below.